Daiho stood in the great chamber and felt his heart grow cold. Around him sat the leaders of 1,000 worlds, beautiful creatures made of crystal and light, ancient beings who had sailed the stars for millions of years, giants with scales that shone like metal. All of them looked down at him with the same expression: contempt. He had come to ask for help. A simple thing, really. 3 human colonies were dying from a plague. Children were suffering. Parents watched their families waste away. Human doctors had tried everything they knew, but the sickness came from an alien world, and only alien medicine could cure it. So Daiho came to the council, as he had done many times before. He followed the rules. He filed the correct papers. He waited his turn to speak, and when his turn came, he asked politely for the cure. The council said no, not because they did not have the cure. They did. It was simple for them, barely worth the effort. They said no, because humanity had not contributed enough to the galaxy. The humans were too young, too primitive, too worthless to deserve help. Daiho tried to argue. He listed all the things humans had done for the council. The trade routes they maintained, the dangerous jobs they took that no other species wanted, the art and music and stories they had shared, the friendship they had offered. The council was not impressed. Then Vrek spoke. He was old, even by the standards of his ancient species. His scales were dark with age and his eyes held nothing but malice. He looked at Daiho the way someone might look at an insect. Perhaps humans should go back to their little world, Vrek said. Perhaps they should stop pretending to be a spacefaring species. Perhaps they should accept that they did not belong among the true civilizations of the galaxy. The chamber filled with laughter. Not all of them laughed. Some looked uncomfortable. A few even looked ashamed. But enough laughed to fill the room with the sound of it. Daiho stood there and listened to them laugh at the death of human children. Something inside him broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. It was quiet, like ice cracking on a frozen lake. He had spent 30 years in this chamber. 30 years of insults delivered with smiles. 30 years of being treated like a stupid child, who should be grateful for any scraps thrown his way. 30 years of hoping that if humans just worked hard enough, proved themselves enough, they would finally be accepted. He was done hoping. Daiho reached up and unpinned the council insignia from his uniform. It was a beautiful thing, made of rare metals and precious stones. It marked him as an ambassador, a representative of his people to the galaxy. He had worn it with pride. He placed it on the podium in front of him. The sound of metal on stone echoed in the sudden silence. The laughter stopped. Daiho spoke. His voice was calm and clear. He did not shout. He did not need to. He told them exactly what he thought of their council. He listed every time they had failed humanity, every promise broken, every insult delivered, every moment of casual cruelty. He spoke without anger, just stating facts, and somehow that made it worse. Then he told them that humanity was leaving. Effective immediately, humans would withdraw from the Galactic Council. They would take their ships, their stations, their people, and go. The council would never see them again. Some of the council members looked shocked. Others looked amused. Vrek smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Good riddance, he said. The galaxy would be better without humanity cluttering it up. Daiho did not respond. He simply turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, the other human diplomats stood. Bora, his chief scientist, Minho, the captain of their ship. Every single human in the chamber rose and followed him. They walked in complete silence. Their footsteps echoed in the vast chamber. Nobody tried to stop them. The council members watched them go, and slowly the amusement faded from their faces. Something about that silent walk felt final. Like a door closing that could never be opened again. On their ship, Minho asked Daiho if he was sure. If they really wanted to do this. Humanity had invested so much in being part of the galactic community. Were they really going to throw it all away? Daiho looked at him with tired eyes. We are not throwing anything away, he said. We are walking away from people who never valued us in the first place. Send the message to Earth, Daiho ordered. Tell them what happened here today. Tell them it is time to come home. As their ship left the council station, Daiho looked back one last time. The massive structure hung in space like a jewel, beautiful and cold. He wondered if they would ever understand what they had lost. Probably not. 3 months had passed since Daiho walked out of the council chamber. In that time, something remarkable had begun. Sujin stood on the observation deck of Ganymede Colony and watched the ships arrive. Huge cargo vessels bigger than anything humans normally built. They came one after another, parking in neat rows around the station. She had received her orders 2 weeks ago. Pack everything. Leave nothing behind. Bring every human home. At first she thought it was a joke. Ganymede Colony had been her home for 15 years. She had helped build it from nothing. The farms, the homes, the schools where children learned and played. How could they just abandon it? But the orders were clear, and they came from Earth itself, signed by the president. Every human station in council space was getting the same message. Come home. The aliens did not understand at first. They watched as human cargo ships appeared at every human settlement. They saw humans packing up their belongings, loading equipment onto massive transports. Some aliens thought humans were just moving things around. Then they realized the truth. Humans were leaving. All of them. Everywhere. Kira had been a merchant for 20 years. She traded between human and alien worlds, carrying goods back and forth. She knew 100 different species, spoke a dozen languages. She had friends across the galaxy. Now she was selling her ship. Everything had to go. Her cargo, her vessel, even the small trinkets she had collected from different worlds. An alien buyer offered her less than half what it was all worth. She took it anyway. Why are you doing this? The buyer asked. You love this life. Everyone knows it. Kira looked at him sadly. Because my people are leaving, she said, and I go where my people go. The alien did not understand, but then none of them did. What shocked the aliens most was how organized it all was. This was not a panicked retreat. This was a carefully planned withdrawal. Humans moved with military precision, following schedules down to the minute. Entire orbital stations were taken apart piece by piece. Research labs were emptied and their equipment packed carefully. Trade posts that had operated for decades closed their doors forever. Everything that could be moved was loaded onto ships. Everything that could not be moved was destroyed. Humans left nothing behind. No technology, no data, no gifts. They took it all. Jiwoo commanded the evacuation fleet. She was an admiral now, though she felt more like a moving company manager. Her job was to make sure every human got home safely, and that nothing of value was left for the council. Every day she received reports. Station 47 completely evacuated. Outpost Harmony dismantled and packed. Research Base 7 destroyed as per protocol. The aliens sent messages asking what was happening. Jiwoo did not reply. She had her orders. No communication with council species unless absolutely necessary. Some aliens tried to stop the evacuation. They filed legal complaints. They demanded humans honor their contracts. They threatened sanctions. The humans ignored all of it. You cannot sanction someone who does not want anything from you anymore. Back on Ganymede, Sujin gave her final address to the colony. People gathered in the main hall, thousands of them. These were people who had built lives here. They had friends, families, memories. She told them why they had to leave. She explained what had happened at the council. She spoke about dignity and respect and knowing when to walk away. Some people cried. Others looked angry. But everyone understood. We built something beautiful here, Sujin said. But we built it in a place that does not want us. So we will take what we learned and build something even better back home. The next day, Ganymede Colony was empty. Taeyang was an engineer, and he spent his days designing new ships. He worked in a secret facility that most humans did not know existed. His job was to prepare for what came next. The evacuation was just the first step. Once all humans were safely home, Phase 2 would begin. Taeyang and his team were making sure humanity would never need the council again. He did not know all the details of the plan. That information was kept secret. But he knew his part. Build better ships. Faster engines, stronger shields. Make humanity self-sufficient. As weeks passed, the galaxy began to notice the effects of the human departure. Trade routes that humans had maintained started to fall apart. Stations that humans had serviced began to malfunction. Goods that humans had provided were suddenly unavailable. A few council members started to worry. Maybe letting humans leave was a mistake. Maybe they should send a delegation to talk. But Vrex dismissed their concerns. Humans were primitive and unimportant. The galaxy would barely notice they were gone. Give it a year and everyone would forget humans ever existed. He was wrong about that. Very wrong. The last human transport left Council space on a Tuesday. Jiwoo watched it go from her command ship. That was it. Every human who wanted to leave had left. Every station was empty. Every outpost was gone. She sent a final message to Earth. Mission complete. All humans accounted for. We are coming home. Behind them, they left empty stations floating in space like ghost towns, and the aliens finally began to understand that something important had just happened. 6 months after the evacuation, Hyun sat in her command chair and watched the sensor screen. A blip appeared on the edge of human space, an alien ship crossing the border without permission. She opened a communication channel. "This is the Human Border Defense Force," she said. "You have entered restricted space. Turn back immediately." The alien ship did not respond. It kept coming. Hyun sent a second warning, then a third. The alien ship ignored them all. Maybe they thought humans were bluffing. Maybe they thought humans would never actually fire on them. They were wrong. Hyun gave the order. Her weapons officer fired a warning shot that passed close enough to the alien ship to make their hull rattle. The ship stopped immediately and turned around so fast it nearly tore itself apart. Good, Hyun thought. Let them tell the others what happened here. The border was not just a line on a map. It was real. Thousands of automated defense platforms floated in space, watching every direction. Sensor arrays detected anything that moved. Hidden weapons waited silently. And human ships patrolled constantly, ready to enforce the new rules. No alien was allowed in human space. None. Not for trade. Not for diplomacy. Not for emergencies. The door was closed and locked. Hyun-soo commanded the entire defense network from a massive station at the border. He was old for a soldier, but he had volunteered for this duty. Someone had to make sure the aliens understood that humans meant what they said. Every day he received reports of alien ships testing the border. Some tried to sneak through, others demanded passage. A few even tried to force their way in. All of them were turned back. Some left with damaged ships and hurt pride. But they left. The council sent an official delegation. They arrived at the border with a fleet of ships and demanded to speak with human leadership. They wanted to negotiate. They wanted to discuss terms. They wanted humanity to be reasonable. Sunmi was the one who responded to them. She had been Deho's assistant for years, and now she spoke for humanity. She delivered a simple message. Humanity has nothing to discuss with the council. We asked for your help and you laughed at us. We offered friendship and you rejected it. Now we offer nothing. Go away and do not come back, the delegation protested. They talked about galactic law and trade agreements and mutual obligations. Sunmi listened politely and then cut the connection. The delegation sat at the border for 3 days, hoping humans would change their minds. On the 4th day, human ships arrived and told them to leave or be fired upon. The delegation left. Inside human space, things were changing rapidly. Yunyo worked in a research lab where impossible things happened every day. He was a physicist, and his job was to understand technology that should not exist. The technology came from somewhere. Nobody told him where. That information was classified above his level, but he did not need to know where it came from to know it was incredible. He helped build new weapons that could destroy a ship without leaving a trace, new sensors that could see through anything, new shields that bent space itself. Every day brought new breakthroughs. The council had no idea any of this was happening. They still thought humans were primitive. They still believed human technology was centuries behind theirs. Let them think that, Junho's supervisor said. Surprise is a weapon, too. Hyun sometimes felt guilty about her job. She had alien friends once. Good people who had treated her with kindness and respect. Now she spent her days threatening them and driving them away. One day, one of those old friends appeared at the border. His name was Kelos, and he had worked with her on a research project years ago. He sent her a personal message asking to talk. Hyun stared at the message for a long time. She wanted to answer. She wanted to tell him that she missed him, that she was sorry things had turned out this way, but she did not. Instead, she sent the standard response. Humans have no interest in communication with council species. Please leave the border area. Kelos left. Hyun sat in her chair and felt a piece of her heart break. But she did not change her mind. Her people needed her to be strong. The effects of the closed border spread through the galaxy. Trade routes that passed through human space were now impossible to use. Aliens had to take longer paths that cost more time and money. Some routes became completely unusable. Species that depended on human goods found themselves in trouble. Human medicine was no longer available. Human technology could not be repaired. Human food, which many aliens had grown to love, vanished from markets. The Council tried to act like it did not matter. They told everyone that the galaxy was better off without humans. They said species would adapt quickly, but the numbers told a different story. Dozens of species were suffering economic damage. Trade had slowed across the galaxy. Some small colonies faced serious hardship, and still the humans said nothing. They sat behind their borders in total silence, like they had vanished from the universe entirely. Vrex gave a speech to the Council. He admitted that the human departure had caused some minor difficulties. But these were temporary problems that would solve themselves. Humanity would collapse without the Council's support. Within a year, they would come crawling back, begging to be readmitted. The Council believed him. They were used to believing him, but deep in human space, something was happening. Something that would change everything. And the Council had no idea it was coming. Jinwoo had been exploring deep space for 8 months when he found it. His ship, the Horizon, was far beyond the edge of the galaxy. So far that the stars looked thin and the darkness was everywhere. No Council ship had ever come this far. The Council had rules against it. They said the empty space beyond the galaxy was dangerous and worthless. They forbade any species from exploring it. But humans did not follow Council rules anymore. And Jinwoo was curious about what the Council was so afraid of. His sensors picked up something strange. An energy signature that did not match anything in human or alien databases. He followed it for 3 days until he saw something impossible. A structure. Massive beyond belief. It floated in the void like a sleeping giant, made of materials that seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. And it was old. So old that Earth itself was young when this thing was built. Jinwoo sent a message back to human space. Then he took a shuttle and went to investigate. When Yuna heard about the discovery, she immediately requested transfer to Jinwoo's ship. She was an archaeologist who specialized in ancient alien civilizations. This was exactly her area of expertise. It took her 2 weeks to reach the Horizon. By then, Jinwoo had mapped the exterior of the structure and found a way inside. Yuna joined him, and together they entered the ancient place. What they found inside changed everything. The structure was a library. A vast archive of information left behind by a civilization that had died millions of years ago. The technology was so advanced it made both human and Council science look like children playing with toys. Yuna spent weeks studying the archive with help from Atlas, an advanced AI that humanity had recently developed. Slowly they began to understand what they had found. The ancient civilization called themselves the Precursors. They had explored the entire universe. They had mastered physics in ways that seemed like magic. They had built wonders that made planets look small, and then they had vanished, leaving behind only their knowledge for whoever came after. But here was the shocking part. The Council knew about the Precursors. They had found ruins like this one thousands of years ago, and they had hidden them. The evidence was right there in the Precursor files, records of Council ships visiting these archives. Notes showing that Council leaders had studied Precursor technology, but they had never shared what they learned. Instead, they took bits and pieces of it and claimed they had invented those things themselves. The faster-than-light travel that the Council used, that came from the Precursors, but the Council had deliberately made it slower than the original design. The energy systems, Precursor technology, but limited. The medical advances, also from the Precursors, but the Council kept the best treatment secret. The Council had been lying to the galaxy for thousands of years. They had found technology that could have lifted every species to unimaginable heights. Instead, they hoarded it and used it to maintain their power. Yuna felt sick when she realized the truth. How many people had died from diseases that could have been cured? How many species had struggled with problems that could have been solved? All because the Council wanted to stay in control. She sent her findings to Earth immediately. President Minsuk read the report 3 times before he believed it. Then he called an emergency meeting of human leaders. The question was simple. What should humanity do with this information? Some wanted to go public immediately. Tell the galaxy what the Council had done. Expose their lies, others argued for caution. The Council would never admit the truth. They would call it human propaganda. And they might attack to keep their secret safe. President Minsuk made the decision. Humanity would study the precursor technology in secret. They would master it completely. And only then, when they were strong enough that the Council could not threaten them, would they decide what to do next. Atlas made another discovery while analyzing the archives. The precursors had left information about many species in the galaxy, including genetic data. And something interesting appeared in those files. Human DNA shared certain markers with the precursors. Not enough to say humans were descended from them, but enough to suggest some kind of connection. Maybe the precursors had visited Earth long ago. Maybe they had influenced human development somehow. Whatever the reason, it meant humans had an easier time understanding precursor technology than other species would. The knowledge seemed to click in human minds in a way it might not for others. This was an advantage humanity intended to use. More exploration ships were sent beyond the galactic rim. They found more archives, more technology, more knowledge. Each discovery was carefully documented and sent back to human scientists. The Council had no idea any of this was happening. They still thought humans were sitting behind their borders, slowly declining without Council support. Jinwoo stood in the precursor archive and looked at the vast halls of knowledge stretching into the distance. Somewhere in here were the answers to questions humans had been asking since they first looked up at the stars. How to travel faster than light without limits, how to generate infinite energy, how to cure any disease, how to extend life indefinitely, how to build structures that could last forever. The precursors had known all of this and more, and they had left it here waiting. Now humans had found it, and they were going to use it. The Council had made a mistake when they mocked humanity and sent them away. They had no idea that in doing so they had freed humans to discover the truth. 2 years after the discovery, Wu Jin stood in a city that should not exist and watched miracles happen around him. The city was called New Seoul Station, and it floated in space without any visible means of support. Buildings rose into impossible shapes, their walls made of materials that were solid and transparent at the same time. Energy flowed through everything, visible as streams of light that moved like living things. People walked through parks where trees grew without soil and flowers bloomed without seasons. Children played in spaces where gravity was optional, and everywhere there was a sense of wonder. This was what precursor technology could do. This was what the Council had kept hidden. Wu Jin directed the integration project. His job was to take ancient knowledge and make it work for modern humans. It was not easy. Precursor technology operated on principles that seemed to break the laws of physics. But slowly, human scientists figured it out. They learned how to manipulate space itself, folding it like paper. They discovered how to pull energy from the fabric of reality, giving them more power than they could ever use. They mastered medical techniques that could cure any illness and repair any injury. Disease became a thing of the past. Aging slowed to almost nothing. Humans could expect to live for centuries now, maybe longer. But the transformation was not just peaceful. Yunju made sure of that. She commanded the new human fleet, and she wanted the galaxy to know that humanity was never going to be threatened again. Her ships were built with precursor weapons that could tear apart planets. Her shields could withstand anything the Council might throw at them. During a training exercise, one of her ships accidentally fired at full power. The beam of energy crossed a solar system in seconds and vaporized an uninhabited moon. The blast was so powerful that ships on the other side of the system detected it. Yunju looked at the data and felt a chill run through her. Her fleet could destroy the entire Council military in a matter of hours, maybe less. This level of power frightened her. It should frighten everyone. Hyejin thought so too. She was a philosopher and ethicist, and she spent her days worrying about what humanity was becoming. Power like this could corrupt even the best intentions. She spoke at universities and public forums, warning people to remember their values. The Council had abused their power, she said. They had used their advantages to dominate and control. Humanity must not make the same mistakes. Some people listened. Others said she was being naive. The galaxy was dangerous, they argued. Humanity needed to be strong. Minjae designed the new structures that were appearing throughout human space, stations that existed in multiple dimensions, habitats that could support millions of people in perfect comfort, factories that could build anything humans needed. He loved the work. Every day brought new possibilities. He was building the future with his own hands. but even he sometimes wondered if they were moving too fast. Human society was changing so quickly that some people could not keep up. There were protests, movements demanding that the government slow down and think about what they were doing. President Minseok faced pressure from all sides. Some groups wanted to help the galaxy, sharing human technology with species that were suffering. Others wanted complete isolation, building a perfect human civilization and ignoring everyone else. And a growing number wanted revenge. They remembered the Council's mockery. They wanted to see those arrogant aliens brought low. One day a ship appeared at the human border. It was small and damaged, clearly in distress. The pilot was an alien from a species humanity had never seen before. The alien sent a desperate message. Their colony was dying. A plague had struck and they had no cure. They had heard rumors that humans possessed incredible medical technology. They were begging for help. The message reached President Minseok. He sat in his office and read it several times. This was exactly the situation humans had faced. A plague, dying children, desperate parents, and a powerful group that could help but chose not to. If he said no, humanity would be no better than the Council. But if he said yes, where would it end? Would humans become the galaxy's charity, solving everyone else's problems? He called a meeting of his advisors. The debate lasted for hours. In the end, Minseok made a decision. Send them the cure, he ordered. But make it clear this is a one-time gesture of mercy. We are not rejoining the galactic community. The alien ship received a package containing the cure and instructions for its use. They also received a message explaining that humanity would not provide further assistance. The alien pilot left grateful but confused. News of the incident spread through human space. Some people praised the decision. Others criticized it as weakness. Hyejin wrote an essay about it. She argued that mercy was not weakness. The ability to help and the wisdom to know when to help were both important. Humanity had shown both, but she also warned that harder decisions were coming. The galaxy would not leave humanity alone forever. Eventually, humans would have to decide what role they wanted to play in the universe. Meanwhile, the transformation continued. Human space was becoming something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. Cities of light and wonder, ships that moved like thoughts, people who lived without fear or want. The Council had called humans primitive. They had laughed at human weakness. If they could see humanity now, they would not be laughing. 3 years after humanity left, the Council chamber looked very different. Half the seats were empty. The species that still attended looked worried and afraid. Vrek sat in his chair and tried to hide his desperation. His hegemony was falling apart. Colonies were rebelling. Trade had collapsed. His own people were losing faith in his leadership, and it was all because humans had left. He had not understood how much the galaxy depended on humanity. The trade routes they maintained, the goods they produced, the services they provided, all of it was gone now, and the galaxy was suffering. Nexim presented his economic report to the Council. The numbers were devastating. Galactic trade had decreased by 40%. Dozens of species faced economic crisis. Some colonies were on the verge of starvation. Medical supplies that humans had manufactured were running out. Technology that humans had serviced was breaking down. Food crops that humans had engineered were failing. The Council had never realized how much infrastructure humans controlled. It had seemed so minor at the time. Small things, boring things, things that elder species did not want to bother with. But those small things added up. And now they were gone. Talara was young for a diplomat. She had joined the Council service because she believed in cooperation between species. She had always respected humans and thought the Council treated them unfairly. Now she watched her ideals crumble. The Council was fracturing. Species were leaving to form their own alliances. Wars threatened. Everything was falling apart. She decided to do something crazy. She was going to visit the human border and beg them for help. Her superiors forbade it. Going to human space was against regulations. Humans had made it clear they wanted no contact. Talara went anyway. She took her personal ship and flew to the border. When human defense systems detected her, she sent a simple message. "Please, we need to talk." The human response was cold and automatic. "Turn back. No exceptions," Talara tried to explain. She told them about the suffering in the galaxy, about species dying because of the Council's mistakes. She begged them to reconsider their isolation. The humans did not respond. She sat at the border for 2 days, sending messages that were never answered. Finally, human ships arrived and told her to leave or face consequences. She left. What else could she do? Back in her quarters, she cried. Not for herself, but for what the galaxy had lost. Humans had offered friendship and the Council had rejected it. Now people were paying the price. Brex tried one last desperate move. He sent a military fleet to raid human space. Not a large one. Just enough ships to demonstrate that the Council could not be ignored. The fleet crossed into human territory. And then it vanished. No distress calls. No debris. No evidence of what happened. One moment the ships were there. The next moment they were simply gone. The Council sent search parties. They found nothing. It was as if the ships had never existed. Fear spread through the Council. What kind of weapons could make ships disappear? What kind of power did humans now possess? They tried to get answers. Council intelligence worked desperately to penetrate human space. Finally, after months of effort, they managed to get a spy ship close enough to scan human territory. What they saw made no sense. Human ships moved in ways that violated physics. They appeared in one place and instantly appeared somewhere else. They passed through solid matter like ghosts. Human stations existed in impossible configurations. Buildings that floated without support. Structures that seemed to occupy multiple spaces at once. Energy readings that went off the scale. The spy ship sent back its data and then fled before it was detected. Council scientists analyzed the information and came to a terrifying conclusion. Human technology was now centuries beyond anything the Council possessed. Maybe thousands of years beyond. The gap was so large it could not be measured. How had this happened? How had primitive humans become so advanced in just 3 years? The Council held emergency meetings. Species accused each other of letting this happen. Frex was blamed for driving humans away. He argued that nobody could have predicted this, but blame did not matter anymore. The damage was done. More species left the Council. Some tried to make contact with humans, hoping to establish independent relationships. Humans ignored them all. A few species remembered old stories, legends about the precursors, an ancient civilization with godlike power. Could humans have found precursor technology? Was that even possible? The Council leaders knew the truth. They had hidden precursor ruins for thousands of years. They had used bits of that technology while keeping the rest secret. They had done this to maintain their power. And now humans had found what the Council tried to hide. Humans had accessed the full archives. They had learned everything. The Council had created their own nightmare. By excluding humans, by mocking them, by sending them away, they had freed humans to discover the truth and claim their true potential. Nexum wrote a secret report that would never be made public. In it, he calculated that humanity now had the power to conquer the entire galaxy in a matter of weeks. Maybe days. The only question was whether humans would choose to do so. The Council waited in fear to find out. And the silence from human space was deafening. 5 years had passed since Deho walked out of the Council chamber. He was old now, his hair white and his face lined with years. He sat in his home on Earth and watched the news from the border. The Council had established observation posts outside human space. They watched constantly, trying to understand what humans were doing. They saw things that filled them with wonder and terror. Human civilization had achieved something that seemed impossible. Disease did not exist anymore. Poverty was gone. Hunger was a memory. Every human lived in comfort and plenty. They had colonized thousands of worlds beyond the galactic rim, in spaces the Council had never explored. Their cities were wonders that made ancient legends seem small. Their technology appeared magical to those who did not understand it, and they lived for centuries now. Maybe longer. Human scientists had mastered the aging process and extended life in ways that other species could only dream about. But what horrified the Council most was not human power. It was human indifference. Humans did not threaten the Council. They did not demand apologies. They did not seek revenge. They simply acted as if the Council no longer existed. The observation posts sent regular reports. Humans were preparing for something. Massive ships were being built, larger than anything seen before. Resources were being gathered. Entire populations were being organized. Council analysts studied the data and reached a shocking conclusion. Humans were preparing to leave the galaxy, not just their territory, the entire galaxy. They were going to travel to other galaxies beyond the reach of any council species. The council called emergency meetings. Some members argued they should try to stop humans. Others said it was already too late. A few suggested begging humans to take them along. Ariam was Earth's president now. She was younger than Minseok and had never seen the council chamber in person. But she had heard the stories. She knew what the council had done to her people. She had no interest in reconciliation. As far as she was concerned, the council had made their choice years ago. Humanity had moved on. Bora was old now, too. She had spent the last 5 years writing a history of what had happened. A complete record of humanity's journey from council member to something far greater. She called her book The Lesson. In it, she explained everything. The years of insults, the final rejection, the discovery of the precursor archives, the transformation that followed. But she also wrote about what the council had lost. They could have partnered with humanity. They could have explored the precursor secrets together. They could have lifted all species to incredible heights. Instead, they chose hierarchy. They chose domination. And now they were being left behind while humanity moved forward. Deho recorded a final message to the galaxy. It would be broadcast from every human border station when the exodus began. In it, he explained humanity's philosophy. "We tried to be your friends," he said in the recording. "We offered cooperation. We sought mutual respect. You rejected all of it. You laughed at our pain and dismissed our worth. So we left, and we discovered that we did not need you. We found our own path, and now that path takes us beyond this galaxy, to places where we might find species worthy of true partnership." He paused and looked directly into the camera. "We do not hate you. We do not fear you. We simply do not think about you anymore. You are irrelevant to our future. Goodbye." The message was ready. It waited in storage, scheduled to broadcast on the day of departure. But before humans left, they did one final thing. They transmitted the complete precursor archives to every species in the galaxy. All the knowledge, all the technology, everything the council had hidden for thousands of years. It was a gift given freely with no conditions. Any species that wanted to could now access the same knowledge humans had found. The council finally understood the magnitude of their failure. They had possessed these archives all along. They could have shared them. They could have helped the entire galaxy achieve greatness. Instead, they hoarded the knowledge out of greed and fear. And now humans were giving away what the council had tried to keep secret. The true horror was not human power or human technology. The true horror was understanding. Understanding what could have been. Understanding what the galaxy had lost through the council's arrogance. Some species began implementing precursor technology immediately. They built better societies with it. They eliminated suffering and created abundance. Others clung to the old ways. They argued about who should control the new technology. They fought over power structures. They proved that having knowledge and using it wisely were different things. And then the day came. Massive human vessels began leaving the galaxy. Millions of ships carrying billions of people. They moved in perfect formation, heading for destinations unknown. The council watched them go. They watched humanity depart for other galaxies, other adventures, other possibilities, and they knew that humans were looking for something the council could never give them. Equal partnership, mutual respect, true cooperation. Before the last ships left, humans placed automated beacons at their borders. The beacons transmitted a simple message. Any species that truly embraces cooperation and mutual respect is welcome to follow us. Prove yourselves worthy and we will show you the way. Years passed. The galaxy tried to rebuild. Some species succeeded in creating better societies. Others fell into chaos. The council itself dissolved, its members going their separate ways, and still the beacons broadcast their message. Still they offered the possibility of following humanity to something greater, but no species had proven worthy yet. The path to the new galaxies remained empty. The council had wanted to keep humanity down. Instead, they had pushed humanity to become something magnificent. And now they watched the empty space where humans used to be, wondering if anyone would ever be worthy of following them into the future.